Margot, it looks like the slide came down, just so you know. All right, do you want to let us know, Margot, when we're live on YouTube, and then Vicky will kick us off?
Yes, we are live.
Great. Go ahead, Vicky.
Hello. This is open conversation with trustees, and it's organized by the Community Affairs Committee, which is a part of the board. My name is Victoria. I am a member of the board, and I'm a member of the Community Affairs Committee, and I will be hosting this call. So, Conversation with trustees intended to open the dialogue between the board, which was removed before, but now we're forging the links, and we want the community, different Wikimedia communities talk to each other. And so this is a 90-minute call with updates followed by Q&A on each topic, and then some questions at the end. Some of the questions were submitted previously, and the rest of them can be asked here in the chat. So today we will start with some quick board updates, then move to the updates to our most important, in my opinion, department, product and technology department. We will be hearing from different streams of work, and we will be talking what it means at the moment, knowledge as a service. You'll hear about wiki functions, what is happening to the wish list. And we have Selena Deckelman here, who is Chief Product and Technology Officer, as well as other staff for the department, and they will talk about what's happening. Then we will have an update about Leadership Development Working Group, about what are the projects they're working on and what is it. Thank you, everybody, to being here today. And I'm excited to talk to you. And I want to remind that we have these conversations in this year, in 2023, every 3 months. So the next ones will be in May, August during Wikimedia, and November. And it will be varying between different time zones to allow everybody to have access. And we will have guest presenters as well. So now, please, Elena, can you tell us about the rules of our conversation?
I sure can. Thanks, Vicky. Hi, everybody. I'm Elena Lappin, Lead Movement Communication Specialist with the Wikimedia Foundation. I'm going to be moderating today's conversation, specifically the question and answers that we're going to have as part of the session today. I just realized as I was preparing for this session that we've been doing these sessions for over a year now, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, I just want to thank those of you that come to these, that make use of these 90 minutes that we have together, that bring important questions, that come for updates. It's been a really cool experience. So yeah, happy to be here still doing these over a year later. So as normal, today we're going to have a series of updates. Each update is going to have its own question and answer on that topic. And then we will have the last 30 minutes of the call for open Q&A about any questions we didn't get to about the topics we covered, or any other questions or curiosities that you might have for the trustees. Throughout the session, we always encourage you to ask questions here in the Zoom chat, if you're with us in Zoom, or in the YouTube chat. If you are here with us in Zoom and you want to speak live, that would be great. Raise your hand in chat and we can call on you and you can unmute and ask your question directly. Just a reminder to everyone who is speaking, including myself, that we have live interpretation today happening into Spanish. So please try to speak slowly and clearly for the interpreter. We do have some pre-submitted questions that were sent to us today, so we're going to be integrating those however we can throughout the session, while also making sure we leave a lot of time for live questions and live discussion. If there are any questions we don't have time to answer, we'll post those answers on the event meta page afterwards, and we'll post a summary of the call there as well. This meeting is being recorded. It is going to be available immediately on the YouTube link that you already have, and then on Commons as soon as we're able to get it onto Commons. This call is covered by the Friendly Space Policy, so we're happy to answer any questions you might have that are asked with civility and curiosity. And yeah, with that, I'll pass it to Shani and she can get us started with the agenda. Thanks.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here, as Elena said, a year later and see some familiar faces, but also some newcomers. We have, I think, the new board of Amical, so welcome to all of you and to all the other folks who are listening in either now or later on video. I would like to start the agenda with a bit of celebrations, as we're doing for the past few times. And first, we want to congratulate Minangkabau Wikipedia that just turned 10 this month and has reached over 250,000 articles, which is quite amazing. So congratulations to this community and to everyone involved. We also want to congratulate the Serbian Wikipedia, which turned 20 this month. And next month, Wikimedia Australia is going to celebrate 15 years as an affiliate. So these are all amazing achievements and milestones from all over the globe, right there and there. This month is also marking Black History Month in the United States. So this is a good opportunity to celebrate some of the groups that have been doing outreach work in our movement to document this history and innovate. There's different types of leadership around it and so much more on different Wikimedia projects. Specifically, I want to mention our friends at Afro Crowd and Black Lunch Table, and of course, our friends at the Smithsonian, who have been spearheading these efforts for years now. And we want to take a moment to give a shout out to them and to everyone else doing this important work of mitigating different knowledge gaps in our projects. Our projects move closer to knowledge equity because of the critical work that you're all doing. So thank you. These are just a few celebrations going on these days. And again, congratulations to all the projects and groups celebrating milestones in the coming month. And I also want to congratulate 2 different conferences and all the participants there. Ibero conference is starting tomorrow in Bogota. A few of our trustees are traveling and will be with the community there, including Mariana Iskander, our CEO. And there's going to also be Wiki Conference India in April in Hyderabad, I think. So enjoy the conferences and we look forward to hearing about that. This concludes the celebration part, and I want to move on, this time wearing my vice chair hat. I am actually covering for Natalia Timkiv, our board chair, who was supposed to give this update of what's happening with the board. And she cannot be in today's call, unfortunately, and so you got me instead. And here we go. I just want to give some highlights of what the board has been doing, because since our last call in December, there's been quite a lot of work happening on different projects that the board is overseeing or involved in, and we wanted to give you an update on that. The first one that I want to mention is the Universal Code of Conduct. As many of you know, the Universal Code of Conduct reached an important milestone with a vote on the enforcement guidelines this month. To back up a bit, for those who may be just new in the room or may have not heard about that, that's possible. I know some of you are really veterans and have heard about the Universal Code of Conduct, but if anyone is hearing about that for the first time, this project has been underway for years now. The idea is to establish some kind of global standards for behavior in Wikimedia projects. In essence, it was created to both create a baseline of what an acceptable behavior is in our projects, and also to outline what a positive and constructive behavior can look like in our projects, both online and offline, by the way. The enforcement guidelines are basically an explanation of how the code will be enforced, so how the community, in essence, is going to make sure that people are actually behaving according to these guidelines. There's been a vote, and the vote has just completed. We had 3,097 voters from 146 Wikimedia communities, 146, sorry for that. And so many people participated in that vote. And out of all the people who voted, 76% voted in favor of the guidelines, which is, I think personally, quite an amazing outcome. We didn't expect such a high number. It's all relative, of course, but yeah, I think it's a good result, all things considered, especially in something so delicate. The board, I want to note, will be reviewing the community feedback on the process, because as you know, no process is perfect in our movement. We will, as always, hear back from people who participated and hear things that need to improve. We will then make recommendations, decision about ratifying this enforcement guidelines. And this is going to happen during our next board meeting, which we expect will be communicated back to the community, hopefully end of March, maybe the beginning of April. And lastly, on the Universal Code of Conduct, I want to thank everyone who actually participated and voted. I know it's not easy, and there's been tremendous effort. It's a good time maybe to say also thank you to the Wikimedia Foundation staff who worked on this, because there's been quite a massive effort to reach out to different communities who don't always participate. And these efforts will keep doing them. And it's important for us to reach as many communities as possible, and especially those who are less active. So thank you again to everyone. Moving to another update, and this one related to the fundraising on English Wikipedia. Some of you have been following this, and some of you haven't heard of it, but we have been fundraising through various avenues. One of them is banners, and one of the major banner fundraising is happening on English Wikipedia, and it happened last December. There has been an RFC on English Wikipedia about the specific language that was used in these banners. And the Wikimedia Foundation team started to work with the community to work on the language and to improve it. So the language is something that the community is feeling that it can stand behind. The foundation fundraising team tested over 450 banners during this year's campaign, which is unprecedented. Really, we usually do a lot of testing, but this year has been exceeded all of previous years. And again, kudos to the team that was really working behind around the clock to make that happen in a very, very, very short timeline. So we appreciate all these efforts. Following the unfortunately, despite all these efforts, the first few days of the fundraising, the result was about 70% less than usual, or the corresponding days in the previous years. So the performance of the banners during this campaign led to us being able to fundraise only $24.7 million, which is less than the targeted $30 million. That is the goal that we hadn't anticipated, wasn't anticipated. And in general, the campaign ended with a shortfall of just over $5 million below the targeted revenue. The result is that the foundation has reduced its budget projection for this year, for the current year. And the teams are also working at the foundation on new projections for the coming year. We don't know yet what the budget projections will be, but we have started the annual planning process, and we'll share more information around this whole thing in April after we see some more data. We as a board hope that as the fundraising team keeps working with the communities on banner messaging, we will see better results and better outcomes as we do it more. And we hope that it will allow us to stay on budget and continue to fundraise for the foundation, for the whole movement, the amount that is needed for us. So these were two major updates. I want to highlight a few other things that the board has been doing since December. One of them is a new thing that we've started working on that I'm especially happy about and also involved in. And this is an affiliates strategy for the Wikimedia Foundation. We've mentioned that we're going to do it, but we've actually started to do this work. We're working in collaboration with AFCOM and other entities, and we'll be reaching out to affiliates in the coming month in order to actually have a good strategy for the first time, actually in forever. We've never had an affiliation strategy, and that explains maybe some of the issues that we've kept having as a board, as a movement for affiliates, and we hope that this is going to help us be more strategic about what we do and how in collaboration with affiliates. So that's one. Another very exciting thing that I'm happy to share is that we have under the CAC now a new task force led actually by Victoria, who is hosting today's session. And this is a sister projects task force. Some of you may know that we have a page on Meta that when people want to open a new sister project, they can apply to do that on Meta. There has never been a really organized process on how to do it, and the task force, and this is supposed to be under the board. It took us time. The CAC has it on its charter to actually take care of it. And finally, after 2 years of being in existence, we got to the point where we can actually do the work. And so we created the task force, and the task force is aiming to take a look at the full life cycle of how sister projects come to be and how they are approved, continued, discontinued, and all of that. I think Victoria is going to tell you a bit more about it in our next meeting, hopefully. But for now, I'll just say briefly in her behalf that this process will probably include volunteers from the community, and the task force will reach out to community when it's ready to hear whoever wants to be involved in thinking about all of that. So stay tuned. Last few updates, and I'm going to be complete quite soon, that we keep supporting the MCDC, the Movement Charter Drafting Committee. Both Natalia and I are the liaisons for this committee, and there are progress. We look forward to actually meeting some of them in our March board meeting, which we're going to finally meet this year in New York. We haven't met the full board for a few months now, and it's the March meeting is important. There's a lot that needs to happen in that meeting, and we'll be updating you after it as always. I'm complete now, and I want to hand it off to Isra and Selena to talk more about the progress on this year's annual planning and the beginning of planning of next year. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shani.
Hey everyone, a big part of the Foundation's annual plan for this year is a renewed commitment to knowledge as a service. And what this means is a commitment to improving our platform to better serve both consumers and creators of Wikimedia content worldwide. The world relies on us as a critical provider of free knowledge, and our commitment is to keep strengthening the way we provide this as a service. To help move this work forward, the board worked with the foundation to hire Selena Deckelman last year as the Chief Product and Technology Officer. And as a board, we've been happy to see this priority come to life under Selena's guidance and leadership. So Selena, I'll hand it over to you to talk about some of the specifics.
Thanks so much, Estra. I'm going to talk about a few bodies of work that are relevant to this that we've, made some progress on in the last few months. And there's four areas. So the first area is with regard to new page patrol and the page triage extension. In collaboration, very close collaboration with community members. We worked to review close to 150 patches. And there's also been several meetings between community members and staff to talk about the future of page triage and the newcomer experience. And now there's work planned in Q4 to update the extension. This work is critical for keeping English Wikipedia useful and free of vandalism, and it's paramount for delivering verifiable and reliable free knowledge. The next area I wanted to talk about is related to Commons. So OpenRefine has completed development of a batch service for uploading and editing media files on Commons with structured data. The latest version also includes a bonus feature, which is that wiki-based templates can be saved and shared, so contributors can use the same structure to describe their media files. We also opened a process for community members to suggest topics that need input from the Foundation's legal department. In addition, Commons continues to be enriched through volunteer contributions. For example, the Commons Picture of the Year winners, which I think we're going to send a link. I know there's been some links being shared here. There's a link there. The newest, a new contest that was launched in January, which is Wiki Loves Plants, which I love. I also love plants, and uses the iNaturalist tag to tag images with their correct scientific name. There's also a new tool that was developed to help users patrol new uploads for copyright violations. The third area that I wanted to talk about is Vector 2022. So Vector 2022 was deployed as the default on English Wikipedia after about 3 years of development work, community conversations, and a pre-deployment RFC. This skin makes Wikipedia easier to navigate through changes like a sticky header, table of contents, and improved accessibility. It was designed to be more welcoming to new readers and editors, and thus diversifying the audience of new readers and editors and making it more global and eventually increasing it. So far, the deployment on English Wikipedia has showed similar data and results to initial wikis, and it achieved all the expected targets that the product teams had set for it. There is an RFC that was started on English Wikipedia requesting a rollback of this skin. So far, the results are roughly about 60% in support of rollback and 40% in opposition. The main concerns from the skin arising from the RFC are being triaged and addressed by the team. And they've been noting that in the RFC as well, with regular updates about weekly. On February 17th, I posted an overview of potential next steps. And this overview noted that in case of the RFC closing as consensus to roll back, the WMF will honor the RFC and roll back the new skin for logged in users. And I recommend leaving it on for logged out users. But obviously that RFC has not closed yet, so we don't know the conclusion. So the fourth area that I wanted to cover is the community wish list. The Foundation's Wishathon, which is leading up to the community wish list kickoff for 2023, involved about 40 staff members contributing time over a week in December to deliver 71 patches and granting 4 wishes. So I also wanted to note progress on some other wishes, progress on the number one wish from 2022, which was improvement of diffs on desktop. Diffs have not been improved in terms of user experience in 5 years. So making changes in the core, that will improve the experience across all wikis. And another little update on progress on wish number 9 from 2022. The team has partnered with Afrikaans Wiktionary and Arabic Wikipedia to pilot the release of audio files that allow readers and editors to listen to the pronunciation of certain terms on the wikis using the International Phonetic Alphabet templates. Finalizing the selection of a text-to-speech engine that can scale across the wikis is happening now. Those are just some of the things we've been working on toward the knowledge as a service priority under the current annual plan. And I'll turn it over to Mike and Denny to give an update about wiki functions and how it's advancing our work in this area. And then we can take questions about his update or any of the other updates before moving to talk about what's in store for next year. Thanks.
So it's my pleasure to introduce the next part of the meeting, which is about wiki functions and its connection with knowledge as a service. So a bit of background, the board approved the establishment of Abstract Wikipedia and Wikifunctions back in May 2020. And this is very much a pilot, an experiment, an investment in the future. It may not work as we think it will, but the board believes it's critical to be experimenting and to innovate. So we recently heard an update on this from Denny at the Community Affairs Committee meeting, and we thought it would be good to also share an update here. So without further ado, over to Denny.
Hello, and thanks so much for having me. Thanks, Mike, for the introduction, and thanks, Selina, for bringing to the topic. I'm Denny Vraničić, user Denny on the wikis, and I have been a Wikipedian since 2003, soon to be 20 years, and also the founder of Wikidata. And in 2020, I proposed Abstract Wikipedia and wiki functions. And then following the project approval process that Shani has mentioned in the introduction, and the approval of the board that Mike has just mentioned, I joined the Wikimedia Foundation as head of special projects. We are working on wiki functions and Abstract Wikipedia. So what is wiki functions? Wiki functions will be a new Wikimedia project with the goal to provide a compendium of functions, functions in the sense of computer functions or procedures which can answer questions. For example, what day of the week was January 15, 2001, or how to convert units into each other, things that we're using on the Wikipedias all the time. Functions answer a certain form of questions, which are usually not answered by Wikipedia. In Wikipedia, we have a lot of content, we have a lot of things, but the functions calculate based on procedures. Functions are really a genuine new knowledge format that we are supporting, particularly when shared in a common library such as Wikifunctions. They can unlock our existing data and knowledge, be it in Wikipedia, be it in Commons, be it in Wikidata. So we can use Wikidata as background knowledge and use this to answer even more questions. We can transform the content from Wikidata and other places into novel ways that can be used in exciting new application or working inside of the Wikimedia projects like Wikipedia and show, for example, graphs, show maps that are based on the knowledge, for example, to show where certain species overlap and so on. Functions can be called directly or integrated into third-party apps, and it makes it easier to embed knowledge in many applications out there. It's really a part of this functions as a way to provide more knowledge as a service. The Wikifunctions beta has launched last year, and you can try it out online right now. The link should be in the chat. You will see that there are still a few rough edges, but the main functionality is there. Functions can be created, they can be implemented, they can be used. We're still working hard on the user experience and on the safety and security features, and working towards launching the project. Wikifunctions' main goal is to work towards Abstract Wikipedia. Wikifunctions will provide functions to generate natural language text with the idea to create text in several different languages based on the same content. So we can take the basic data from Wikidata about a city and use that to create an article about a city in many different languages. This way we want to fill in some of the gaps that we have across the different language editions of Wikipedia and allow the communities to really focus on the topics they care about most. Regarding knowledge as a service, we have already seen with Wikidata how powerful machine accessible knowledge is for the whole ecosystem of free knowledge. Wikidata has in a very short time become a central hub for all kinds of knowledge out there. And many memory institutions, galleries, libraries, archives, museums are linking to Wikidata. Abstract Wikipedia will go a step beyond what Wikidata can do and provide more complex and nuanced knowledge than Wikidata was ever designed to cover in a way that is easy for a machine to process and work with. Also, it is really important for us to make sure that everyone can contribute to Abstract Wikipedia in their own language. We are aiming for a situation where a native Yoruba speaker can contribute knowledge about Yoruba religion themselves, and a reader in Thailand will be able to read that knowledge about Yoruba religion in Thai as contributed by the Yoruba speaker. The goal is to work on a common baseline of knowledge that is created once, maintained in one place, but available across all of our languages of Wikipedia. We are very much looking forward to this. This concludes my update.
Thank you so much, Denny. We have a question that's come in as well as a couple of pre-submitted questions. So we'll take, I think right now we can take about 8 minutes to ask any questions pertaining to wiki functions, abstract Wikipedia, or any of the updates that Selena gave us around Commons, Vector 2022, the wish list, new page patrol. So any questions you have about any of those topics we can take now. And if there are questions we don't get to, we'll save them for the end of the conversation today. But the first one from chat for you, Denny, is Wiki Functions a Chat GPT simulation, but for Wikimedia projects?
No, it's very, very different from ChatGPT. It is similar in the sense that it answers questions, but this is basically where the similarity ends. Wiki Functions is completely predictable and editable in the sense that in ChatGPT, if you ask a question, you never know what you really get back in that moment. And you also have no way to control what you're getting back really that much. And in particular, there's no way for a community to contribute to what ChatGPT is saying and making sure that this is actually the answer that they give. But this also means that the kind of questions that we can ask are not as wide-flowing as what you can ask, for example, ChatGPT. The kind of questions you can ask Wiki Functions would be more questions like, well, what day of the week was a certain date, or here we have 2 calendars. How do you transform from one to the other? Given that we have a map of where species live in commons, and then we can, for example, compare which countries does this actually touch in and so on. So these are the kind of things that we can compute and then we can answer in Wiki Functions. With ChatGPT, you can ask all these questions obviously as well. But to be honest, I wouldn't trust a single one of those answers. And the goal is here to have actually reliable answers because we can trust the process in which these answers are being created.
So here we've got a follow-up question in the Zoom chat. How are wiki functions versus info tables that we use in ca.wiki to pull Wikidata info?
Right. You can pull in the data from Wikidata and display it in the info boxes, as you do already now in CA Wikipedia. But with Wiki Functions, you will be able to transform those functions. A lot of these things are already possible today, for example, with Lua modules and so on, or with templates. You can do actually a lot of those transformations, but then you do it inside of CA Wiki. And that's the only place you can do it, and which is great because it benefits CA Wiki. If you then in the future, in the magical future we are working towards, if you build this function in Wiki Function, you can not only benefit from it in CA Wiki, but you can benefit from it in all of our 800 Wiki projects that we have. So you don't have to go and copy paste that code, particularly in languages that maybe are not able to understand the language, that are not able to understand the documentation, but you can have one place in Wiki Functions where the code is being maintained, documented, has tests, is probably of a better quality, and you don't have to copy and paste manually from wiki to wiki in order to be able to use those. And then you can pull in the data from Wikidata, do some computation about it, and display the results inside of your wiki. To give the most simple example, in Wikidata, we will have the date of birth for many people, for example, that you will have an info box on CA Wiki on. You probably want now also to display not only the date of birth, but also the age of the person if the person is still living. And then you can use the function to calculate this. And I'm pretty sure that you already have a function that you probably have copied from English Wikipedia through Lua, and no one is really maintaining inside of CA Wiki. This is the place that we want to improve. We want to make it easier to maintain those transformations. We want to make it easier to use it across the wikis and to enable more wikis to actually use this data. I hope this makes sense. If not, feel free also to reach out and ask me more.
Thanks, Denny. Yeah, for people here in the Zoom room with us, would really encourage you to raise your hand and unmute and ask your question live. We do have one final question here from the YouTube chat, and then I'll pass it back to Selena to talk about knowledge as a service and how it's going to evolve under next year's annual plan. But the question here, Denny, is a quick one. Just wondering if there is a more detailed timeline for abstract Wikipedia than what is currently on Meta under the timeline section of the abstract Wikipedia page, because they are noting that it says in 2023, launch wiki functions in production, and that's kind of all that there is. So wondering if there is a more updated timeline or if one is coming.
We have a detailed list of milestones that we want to reach, but we usually try to avoid to give dates on that. This is actually a conversation we are having with the team that we just had an hour ago, literally, with the team. We are working towards a timeline and a better understanding on when these milestones are being hit. And once we have reached an understanding within the team, we will also be happy to share it with the communities. So we are working on more transparency regarding that, not only for the communities, but also for ourselves.
And can people expect to see a more fleshed out timeline on that same page, or should they be looking somewhere else?
This is the right place to look at. We will we have weekly regular updates where we'll talk about them, but we will also make sure that it's on this page.
Great. Thank you so much, Denny, for that update. Now we'll pass it back to Selena to talk about knowledge as a service under next year's annual plan. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Elena, and thank you, Denny, for that very informative update. I also get the newsletter, so encourage folks to check that out if you're interested. So yes, returning to talking about knowledge as a service in the next year's annual plan. So we've gotten this ball rolling, with work towards knowledge as a service in this year. In the next annual plan cycle, our goal is to strengthen that commitment to knowledge as a service and increase our impact by organizing our work a bit more clearly. So we are building an initial draft plan on Meta for review and feedback. And the Foundation's annual plan this year will be led by the needs of product and technology. This plan is built around 3 buckets of work. And I'll just say buckets is just the name that's stuck. It doesn't have more linguistic significance than that. But the idea here, behind them is that the responsibility and the focus areas are very clear so that the things happening in one bucket won't block the work from another. We're trying to make things that previously might have been implicit or hard to understand, making them much more explicit. The 3 buckets we've identified, the primary ones are wiki experiences, signals and data services, and future audiences. So now I'm going to just spend a few minutes explaining these buckets and the proposed resource allocation associated with them. So we're estimating that about 50% of the annual plan for product and tech is going to go toward wiki experiences. And we are hoping to focus on much needed core improvements for the people who are already creating and consuming Wikimedia content. These buckets of work are proposed central elements for this year's annual plan, and they'll be a cross-departmental effort spearheaded by product and technology, but also requiring heavy involvement from research, communications, partnerships, and other areas of expertise. The next bucket is the signals and data services bucket, and we think that that will be an estimated 30% of the annual plan. And the final bucket, and signals and data services, what it is focused on are things having to do with the data infrastructure, both the reporting and business intelligence needs that we have inside and, for the community, but also some critical infrastructure services, such as our experimentation system. We call this also a metrics platform for the rest of the software that we operate. There's critical investments that we need to make there. The final bucket is the future audiences, and we estimate this will be something like 5% of our annual plan. And what this work is it's experimenting and reaching out to audiences, both for readers and contributors that we typically do not reach with our existing work. And the idea behind this is that we experiment and learn and demonstrate impact. And if we find good streams of work there, that some of that work just gets handed back to, for example, the Wiki Experiences team to execute on, basically. So that's what these buckets are about. So I encourage everyone to have a look at this early draft of the objectives on Meta as a starting point. We really wanted to get this information out as early as possible in the planning process to invite feedback and conversations and advance our planning based on that. Throughout April, Mariana and I will be visiting community calls and likely hosting a few of our own to get your thoughts as this draft evolves. And while this is an annual plan for the foundation, as many of you know, it determines the priorities and resourcing that impact the whole movement. So this plan really serves all of us, and it belongs to all of us. And we want to keep building out our planning and processes to reflect that. In that spirit, we want to have a two-way planning where, along with the sharing of what the foundation is doing, we also get to hear what you are planning and what are your priorities. We will also see, you will also see us share more granular information about how we allocate our resources over the course of this process. So please keep your eye out for this information about these conversations. We'll be publishing that soon. And I'd like to also invite any questions or thoughts that people may have right now.
Thanks, Alina. So I know that's a pretty substantial update about what we are thinking planning wise for the next fiscal year. Our fiscal year at the foundation starts in July every year. So we like to get a head start on it and start planning around now. And like Selena mentioned, the conversations will be open to community members to come take a look at the draft, give feedback, ask questions, provide input that we can then incorporate. So an exciting opportunity for any of you that might be interested in being part of that process. Shani, did you want to add something to that quickly?
Yeah, just very briefly, maybe reiterate. First of all, thank you, Selena, for this update, but maybe stressing for folks who may not know, this is a huge change for the Wikimedia Foundation. Usually the annual planning process has been something done more internally. And part of the feedback that we kept receiving from the community is, hey, we want to be able to give you input much earlier before you give us a full plan. So kudos to Selena and to Mariana and to all the other folks at the foundation who are making an actual effort to include that into the process this year. And we really hope to see involvement. This is not just lip service. We actually want people to be engaged in working on this. So just stay tuned, as Selena said, and we really hope to hear back from you throughout this process.
Take a few minutes for questions on this now. We do have one, Selena, that came into the YouTube chat that may be a little bit more specific than we're prepared to answer already. But the question is, do you already have anything about maps in the bucket for Wiki Experiences?
I don't yet. This is, so the process of one thing that I could share about the process that we're going through is that in the past, kind of building on what Shani shared, we would take kind of mostly baked plans or mostly completed roadmaps and then offer those to the community to kind of give feedback on. Instead, now we're talking about what our shared highest level priorities might be. So in doing that, in talking about objectives, and then, also we're going to be sharing some key results in the coming weeks. That level of conversation is just like, it's kind of a level above the specific project plans. So we don't have information about that yet, but the next stage where we start looking at that based on like the highest level priorities, starts like mid to late March. And we'll be, again, like going through the process of sharing what we think the key results like ought to be, and then, taking rounds of feedback and iteration based on that. And I'll just say creating key results is like really challenging for a group of people. And this is the first time that we are doing that across both the product and tech departments at the same time. And so this is a group of people that's working together on this for the first time. They're all kind of like learning together. So sometimes, our dates, it's like, stay tuned, our dates, we're figuring it out as we go along. Everyone's really excited about next year already. Like, we're learning a lot right now. This is going to go really smoothly next year. But just, they're trying as best they can. And, I'm kind of following Sue Gardner's advice, which is just release as early as possible before you're ready. At every step. So that's what you can expect in the coming weeks. But right now I'm seeing us mid to late March as a point where we'll be sharing all of the key results with the community, which will also include like a revision on the objectives based on the feedback that we're seeing right now.
Thank you. So to follow up on that, 2 quick comments and then a question from the YouTube chat. One comment from YouTube: I want to applaud that this is grounded in movement strategy, which is new and very needed. I see a lot of nods here in the room around that. So kudos for that. And then another, this is great. And a question about, will there be drafts from departments other than product and tech for this year's annual plan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the aspects of the work that we're doing is starting from the product and tech, buckets. I mean, I wouldn't say the buckets are a strategy, but like that framework, we're starting from that framework. And so most of the other departments are just building on top of that. So I think what you're going to see is additive. So we'll start from, where is our focus going to be in the product and tech realm, and then we'll add layers to that. So I don't know if we're going to be able to have, the kind of like, from the very start objective feedback. What I mean by that is the objectives that we're putting out there. I don't know if that's going to be possible across everywhere else, because we're really kind of blazing a new trail with what I'm doing right now. This is the first year that a department has released this kind of information and asked for a conversation about it this early in quite a while. So I think you could think of this as like the first step, and then we're going to get progressively more over time. So there will be more, but like I can't really commit every department to exactly that same thing, because they're kind of building on what I'm building on, which, I don't know, it's just tricky. So yeah, it's a great question, and what I think I can do is just we can circle back later and kind of give what we think timelines might be for the rest of the departments.
Thank you. Great. So I think that brings us to the end of the Q&A about this segment. I will pass it over now to Rosie and Jan to give an update about the Leadership Development Working Group. Then we can take some questions about that and move to our open Q&A for the end of the call. So over to you, Rosie. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Elena. Hi, everyone. I'm Rosie Stevenson Goodnight, a member of the Board of Trustees on the Talent and Culture Committee. So as you just heard, next on the agenda, we'd like to spotlight the Leadership Development Working Group. The Leadership Development Working Group is a community group, and it's been formed in response to the movement strategy recommendation, Invest in Skills and Leadership Development, which proposed the creation of a working unit and called for a clearer definition of leadership in the Wikimedia movement. I'm really excited about the Leadership Development Working Group's work, as leadership development is a crucial part of our movement's sustainability and growth. whether we're referring to board leadership, affiliate leadership, or any other form of leadership. This is a topic that's important for us to consider and approve upon. So now I'm going to hand it over to members of the working group to share more about their work. Jan, over to you.
Thanks, Rosie. I'm really excited to be here. So my name's Jan. I'm made in Germany, but I currently live in Estonia. And as you might reasonably expect, I'm also a member of the Leadership Development Working Group. I'm not alone here today, but I'm joined by my lovely colleagues, Rocío from Chile, who's based in Luxembourg, Nada from Palestine, and last but not least, Goody from Nigeria. And we want to briefly share with you a little about who we are, why our group even exists, what we're doing, and how it might support your work on Wikimedia. Altogether, we are 15 community members from all kinds of different backgrounds. So we represent each of the regions of the Wikipedia movement. And our group members hold quite a variety of roles. So we have campaign organizers, on-wiki functionaries, skills trainers like me, and affiliate leaders. So why do we exist? Like Rosie mentioned, the Leadership Development Working Group formed in June of last year as a response to the movement strategies Invest in Skills and Leadership Development recommendation, as the movement has long been calling for more resources and pathways building capacity and leadership. And that's what we're working to deliver. When we first convened, we set out to accomplish 3 goals for the 1 year that is our term. Firstly, to draft a shared definition of leadership. To secondly, create a leadership development plan on the basis of this definition. And thirdly, to guide the implementation of this plan in the movement. We are really happy to report that we accomplished the first goal last year already. And we drafted a leadership definition based on our collective experiences and consultations with the communities. We had lots of feedback there, really nice. Right now, we are busy working on the leadership development plan, which will be a resource kit for people who want to develop leadership in themselves or in others anywhere in the movement. To give you a preview of what we're working on right now, we have determined 4 focus areas for the plan, and we have divided up into subgroups to research and write each one of them. These areas are, firstly, understanding leadership roles and skills. Secondly, how to build a leadership development program. Thirdly, specific aspects of leadership, so among them burnout, diversity, passing on knowledge, things like that. And fourthly is showcasing leadership initiatives, so the stuff that we already have. And we really do hope to have a draft ready for community review in the next couple of months, which is when we are going to be relying on your input, which will be greatly appreciated. We really take a lot from that. Our deepest hope is that this resource is useful to community members interested in improving leadership. And you would really help us with your input in reaching this goal. So if you're interested in contacting us or following our work, there are a few ways you can do that. Firstly, we'll have a meta page where you can find the leadership definition, which we've drafted, as well as monthly progress updates curated by our members. You can also find us on MS Forum, where some of our members are really active. Or you can email us anytime at leadershipworkinggroup@wikimedia.org. And with that, thanks for the opportunity to speak here. I really do look forward to hearing from some of you. Please take the chance. And with that, I'll hand it back to the moderator for some Q&A.
Thanks, Jan. Let's take a little bit of questions from the audience here. If there's anything in the Zoom chat, YouTube chat, anything you're curious about, please drop your question in or request to unmute. We do have a pre-submitted question. What kind of leadership are you referring to when we're talking about leadership development here? Specifically, is this about affiliate leadership or unaffiliated leadership? Is there a specific regional focus? It's like Nada wants to answer. Yeah, Nada, go ahead. Feel free to unmute and answer.
Yes, this is Nada Al-Farra. I'm
part of the leadership development plan, and I'm happy to share with you my point of view about this question. While developing leadership definition and leadership development plan, we consider various types of leadership. Our work highlights the collective type with respect to individual efforts. We conduct surveys for different roles and make sure to get answers from different regions to include the cultural, regional, and language differences into our drafts. So yeah, regional focus is there and it's present. We are always in need for communities to give us insights, which is why we encourage you to participate in our calls and surveys to keep us informed about different types of leadership. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. I think it does. I think the only open question it leaves me with is whether, I mean, you mentioned different types of leadership and you're trying to capture all of that. Is there more of an orientation towards affiliate, like, you know, movement organizing leadership, or is it equally distributed between affiliated and non-affiliated leadership?
Affiliates are part of the movement. We can't exclude them. And it's actually the most important part since it focuses the efforts of everyone. But there is always a room for individual leadership, for newcomers, for new volunteers to be leaders. And for this, yeah, we need to spare time and room and space for those people in our plan, and we put those two types with their different subtypes, because there are different types of leaders and affiliates in our consideration while building our plan. So yeah, everyone is included, and if you have noticed that we didn't include anyone, yes, please point that, because we need this plan to be as inclusive as we can.
Thank you so much, Nada. One final question for now for the Leadership Development Working Group. How do you plan to share your outcomes with all communities? Make sure that there's wide awareness of the work that you've done when the outcomes are ready. Go ahead, Nada.
Okay. Well, our work is already published, and the future work will be published on Meta. We call for feedbacks via outreach lists, including affiliates, interested individuals in the leadership, and the Wikimedia Strategy Forum. We include multilingual versions of our work. We have previously shared our outcomes through community calls, conferences, and the DEF. We also include summaries and report our progress monthly on Meta. So yeah, that's the overall plan on sharing our outcomes with all communities, and we hope we reach to everyone.
And thank you for attending this call as well. I'm sure this is not the only call you've attended, so this kind of thing also helps make people aware of the amazing work you're doing. There's been some congratulations in the chat that you all have done so much, made so much progress in less than a year. A lot of hearts going on in the chat, so thank you all for that work. With that, let's move to the open question and answer section. Of course, if anybody has other questions for the Leadership Development Working Group, it's not too late to ask those. You can ask those in this section. But in this section, we'll also be taking questions on any other topics touched on today or anything else that you'd like to ask. So we have a number of pre-submitted questions, but first I actually just want to open it up to the Zoom room. If there's anybody here who would like to raise your hand in chat and unmute to kick us off, I'll give us a little bit of time to see if anybody wants to ask the first question live.
Yes, I want to ask a question live. Can you hear me? No.
We can hear
Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead. Yes.
Good. Okay. So yeah, I have a question about the Form 990. Have you started reviewing the content of the Form 990, and when do you plan to publish the Form 990 for the last fiscal year?
Thanks, Hogu. I think Mayur may be able to answer this. Mayur, do you want to introduce yourself and take this one?
Hello, I can. Hi, everyone. I'm Mayur. I'm the Director of Movement Communications. The Form 990, as someone asked in the Zoom chat, is the kind of statutory filing the foundation does to the Internal Revenue Service of the United States. It's like a very particular form, and you have to answer it in a very particular way. So I can say our finance team are working on it right now. I think the intention is to kind of, I think, Hogu, you've asked a similar question before about like, can we move the timeline up? And I think that's the intention. Is they're trying to kind of do that. It does involve a lot of I don't work in finance, as you can tell, but it does involve a lot of answering very particular things in a way that is set out by US law. So yes, lots of numbers and sums to be done, but I think the intention is to release it kind of earlier and sort of as early as possible. I think Shani has a follow-up.
As far as I understand, it's Wikimedia Foundation is a charitable organization which is registered in the US. And every year you need to prove to the US government that you are doing what you are supposed to be doing, that you're spending money on your main purpose. Otherwise, they will remove your charitable status and you will have to pay taxes in the US. Shani?
Thank you. I just wanted to add very quickly that from the board's perspective, the 990 has generated quite a lot of questions in the past few years, especially last year. So in hearing that you are all very interested in that, the board has requested the staff working on the financial reports to actually engage more with the community this year. I think they're planning like more robust explanations and Q&A. And so we will be doing our bit from our end to be more clear in advance this year. And do let us know if that's working for you or if there are additional needs. But we are hearing you in wanting more details on the 990. As Vicky said, it's a technical thing that we need to comply. Otherwise, we're going to lose our status. But the community, we feel the community, it's important that the community understand it better and understands better how WMF is actually, how the Wikimedia Foundation is actually operating, what we're spending the money about. And we want to be as transparent as we can. We cannot share everything. I want to be very clear on that. There are certain things that we cannot share for various reasons, some of them legal. But whatever we can and whatever we can share, we want to be able to do that. So Hugo, Hogu, I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the future after they do that, if it was better this year. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for all the information on the 990. Hogu, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to ask those in chat. We can try to answer any follow-ups there. Let's open the floor for another live question. I think Owen, you wanted to ask one live.
Hi, yeah. So I will disclaim there is a fair amount of context up front before I get to the actual question. Apologies. If the interpreters want me to slow down, then just say so in chat and I'll keep an eye on that. We've known for some time that minoritized editors and editors in minoritized context areas are disproportionately likely to be subjected to harassment on and off Wiki. This harassment often includes suggestions that attempts to counter systemic bias are non-neutral because people are only working on biographies of women or only on biographies of people of color, for example. This can often also include suggestions that individuals might prefer to leave the movement for the benefit of the project or for your own good, perhaps because they are often involved with conflicts with other editors, partly because an editing community that is much more likely to consist of white, cisgender, straight men than it is users from minoritized groups is inevitably going to contain some contributors who are uncomfortable with the concept of countering systemic biases. This harassment can also often include being gaslit and being told that these are in no way personal attacks or that users are playing the victim. We also know that minoritized editors and editors in minoritized content areas are disproportionately likely to be censored by projects, including being blocked. We also know that the on-wiki processes to mediate disagreements are generally managed by users who are even less likely to be from these minoritized groups, and as a result, often fail to address such harassment and mistreatment, siding with the majority groups for reasons that are understandable. Here's the actual question. Now that the Universal Code of Conduct enforcement guidelines have finally seen widespread approval from the movement, what can the trustees say to help give minoritized editors and editors in minoritized content areas confidence that we have the trustees' support in countering systemic bias, that our contributions are valued and recognized, and that the trustees recognize the challenges we all face in making minoritized editors feel welcome and retaining minoritized editors within the movement?
Owen, I'm going to take this one. And first, I want to thank you for asking the question and that it's not anonymous and that we directly from you. I will say that you have been a powerful advocate for making the project safer and more inclusive. And it's because of work like yours that our movement has been able to make strides towards knowledge equity. Making Wikimedia a safer place for all contributors has been and continues to be a top priority for the board. Our success as a movement and as a provider of knowledge relies on it. And for that reason, we have overseen the Universal Code of Conduct process since its inception and will continue to closely oversee it, very closely. And some of that Shani has mentioned earlier as before this update. Establishing an equitable universal code of conduct that works is how we as a movement show we value, recognize, and want to retain minoritized editors. We're very committed to seeing it through. The enforcement guidelines have yet to be approved. They've been supported by the community. We heard about that. Now they're being forwarded to the board for our review and final approval. Next month, March, we're going to review the enforcement guidelines recent vote in detail, including all the feedback about it. And we're going to make a recommendation about next steps. If you recall, we did this in the last phase as well. Based on our analysis of community feedback after the first enforcement guidelines vote, we asked the committee and project team to look into 4 areas for revisions. After these revisions were made, they held a second vote, which is where we are right now in the process. If the enforcement guidelines are ratified this time around, our plan is to start working with the Universal Code of Conduct project team on UCOC training modules. In order to get everyone aligned on what is and isn't acceptable behavior on the platform, the training will be included. At a minimum, guidelines and tools for identification of what is considered unethical behavior, as well as a manual for how to respond when targeted by harassing behavior. We've asked the team to consult diversity, equity, and inclusion experts to make sure these trainings are implemented in an equitable way. We're here to support and respond to any challenges along the way and hope you all will keep reaching out to us and making use of these conversations.
Thank you for that, Rosie. Shani, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, hopefully a really short one. Owen, I join Rosie for thanking you, A, for the question, and B, for all your work. I do want to maybe add another aspect because Rosie's reply, which was very comprehensive, rightly focused on the Universal Code of Conduct. But I want to take a moment to remind people, because you specifically asked about the board and our commitment, the Universal Code of Conduct and the board's involvement with that actually stemmed from a bit of an older, well, it was a previous resolution that the board took to actually have a healthier and a healthier space on all wikis in everything that we do. Part of being a healthy community, the Universal Code of Conduct is actually one aspect of it. To us as trustees, we look at it actually a bit more holistically. There are different things that need to happen on various avenues in our work, both for the foundation staff, but also in collaboration with our communities for that to happen. The Universal Code of Conduct actually made sense as a really pre-step for many other things, but the resolution that the board took actually talked about many things. Not only resource allocation towards such things, but also training for communities that Rosie mentioned in that context. But it also includes a lot of trust and safety work that is happening sort of off radar that we have to keep doing, and allocating resources to that team was a crucial step, and making sure that they have what they need to do that work, and continuing to work again, sometimes off radar with various functionaries in our communities. So there, just maybe reminding people that the Universal Code of Conduct is not the only thing. It's a really important first step, but the vision is much wider, and the board recognizes that a lot needs to happen in order for us to actually see a cultural change. And it's not going to happen overnight. We are here for the long run, and we're trying our best to do the legwork that is necessary to build the infrastructure for that to happen. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're really trying, and it's really important for us. I hope I answered.
Yes, thank you, Shani.
Thanks so much, Shani, for bringing your institutional memory and your longer historical perspective as a trustee to that answer. It's really, really great to hear. So we have a number of questions on other topics that have come through the chat. Let's turn to back to the annual plan. So this one's probably for Selena about one of the buckets of work under the proposed plan for next year. This person spotted in one of the buckets the idea of supporting content growth on medium-sized wikis, providing tools and workflows that enable machine learning assisted content creation. This person is wondering if that's in reference to ChatGPT, and if not, what it is in reference to.
Yeah, thank you for this question, Selena Deckelman again. It is not in reference to ChatGPT. There's some specific work that the languages team has done for a long time. And so this is building on an existing body of work. And, some parts of it, just have to do with translation work that already exists. And there's, some appetite for thinking about, for lists of topic areas that require translation, what can be done there to support the editors. And there's editors in different regions, particularly in Indic Wikipedia region, that they're interested in actively soliciting the help of partners as well as the Wikimedia Foundation to do more of that. So the ML assisted piece of it, I think we're probably gonna so as not to pull ChatGPT into the conversation, probably just change that. But there are models, there's models to find topic areas basically for coverage. And that's more of the focus. And, as, communities request support for any kind of content generation, experiments or otherwise, we're just trying to support those requests. So that's what I understand today. And like I said, I think toward the end of March is when we'll have more project, proposals to have conversations about, for related to the objectives.
Thank you for that. Our next question is from the YouTube chat as well, and it's about fundraising. I will note that we don't have anybody on this call from Foundation staff that is in charge of fundraising. So let's see if we can answer this question. If not, we can post the answer on Meta afterwards. This question is just kind of about fundraising approach. Why doesn't the campaign simply keep running until the goal is met? That's what my public radio station is doing right now. I think this is in reference to the fact that we came up with about a $5 million shortfall in the campaign in December. So why don't we just continue to run the campaign until we reach the goal? Does anyone on the call have a sense of our tactics around that, or should we save that for the fundraising team and get back to this person on Meta?
We can definitely have Lisa answer it, but I can share remembering her answer on that. It's trickier than people think. The whole thing is quite complex, and it seems that the more days it's Lisa is going to explain it so much better, but in essence, as far as I understand, the more time the banners are up there, the less impact they have, and people don't interact with them as much. So there's an actual learning curve. There are actual theories and practical things that the fundraising team is doing to make sure that the banners are as impactful as they can be. And there is a short time limit that they need to work on for that to happen. So we can't just drag it more and more and more. We actually did take a few more days this time because of how the holidays fell on the calendar. But in essence, it's tricky, and it's we can't just have it open. People just ignore it. You know how it is as a user. You just click on the X button and that's it. So that is also why banners are not the only revenue stream that we have. We're trying to diversify the way that we're fundraising. There's a lot going on via emails and being in contact with people who have already donated in the past. So we're trying to keep it quite diverse, and the team has been doing an amazing job at actually diversifying our revenue streams. And I guess the rest of it, Lisa can answer online. I hope that helped.
Thanks, Shani. Yeah, I think that's a great introduction, and we will get some more points from Lisa and post that on the event meta page after the fact. The next question was pre-submitted to us, and it is related to this, to the shortfall in revenue and the implications that that may have. So this question is about staffing. The question is whether the foundation is planning to have any layoffs like other tech companies have done recently. So I guess the context is less about the fundraising campaign and more about just the trend in tech generally. Do we have anyone on the call that is able to speak to that? Yeah, Vicky, go ahead.
I just want to make a general comment that while tech is a great part of Wikimedia Foundation work, as you've seen today, we are not a tech company. We are not Microsoft or Google or whatever. And I hope that our communication director, Mayur, who is involved in annual planning, will be able to tell us more on the topic.
Hi everyone, me again. I'm going to share a link as I've been doing. Those in the Zoom chat get the joke. I've been sharing lots of links, but my colleague will carry this over to YouTube as well. It's a link to a message from Mariana, I think just a few weeks ago, which sort of talked about the timeline for our annual planning and when we'll know about our finances. So kind of, I think the short answer is that we will have more information by April on kind of our future financial projections. So that's for the next fiscal year. I think as kind of we've discussed on this call, there is a revenue gap in the current financial year that we're in. And you know, you'll see in Mariana's message, you know, we anticipate that we will have a reduced budget and certainly slower growth going forward. So I think more information will come in April, but sort of as we've talked about at this call and kind of Selena's described previously, you know, annual planning is being led this year by kind of product and technology. It's the first time since about 2015 the departments have kind of worked together to plan this, and as Selena said, the first time they're kind of doing this in the open, sharing the drafts, etc. And our intent is to repeat the kind of two-way process that we had last year. And through this process, we also hope to surface more granular information that will answer questions like this, you know, how many staff are there, what are they working on, etc., etc. So yeah.
Thank you, Mayur. So it looks like we don't have anything coming in at the moment on YouTube or Zoom. So I actually wanted to just take this opportunity. I know that a number of questions that have come in today have talked about ChatGPT. I know it's something that is on many of our minds. And I also know that Jimmy is here with us and has, you know, been thinking a little bit about ChatGPT and how that might intersect with Wikimedia. So Jimmy, I'm wondering if, you know, we have about 2 minutes left for this open Q&A section. Wondering if you could share some of your early thoughts and questions you've been asking around this.
Yeah, I've been kind of doing a deep dive. I think like a lot of people in our community and in technology generally, I'm fascinated by it. And I've spent a lot of time playing with ChatGPT, and I had a call just this week with Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, which created ChatGPT and lots of other interesting, cool stuff. And I think it's amazing. And of course, you know, if you read the media, there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of excitement and fear and so forth. And for us, you know, I think as Wikipedians, any Wikipedian who's played around with it for a few minutes realizes it's definitely not a threat to Wikipedia in its current form, because it lies a lot. I mean, it just gets a lot of things really hilariously wrong. And it makes up sources and it does all kinds of weird, bad things. So as far as that goes, I don't see any prospect anytime soon that, you know, we're going to start just saying, oh, well, let's just write our entries using ChatGPT. Other things that a lot of people worry about, I'm not panicked about, but I think we are going to have to pay attention to. So, you know, bad actors creating hoax entries, either for malicious reasons or just because it's funny, and it usually isn't very funny, can probably create things that are much more plausible now, much more easily. I still think in order to get away with a real hoax in Wikipedia, you kind of have to be pretty good at knowing how to do Wikipedia, because community, people can spot this nonsense pretty easily. So I'm actually more interested in thinking about, two things. One, Sam previewed for me a tool where he just could show me like any random image from the internet, and in 1 second, 2 seconds, it's the next version of ChatGPT that can actually look at images. And he said, describe this image in great detail. And it was amazing. It was like ridiculously sort of 2 paragraphs of every last detail of the image. And I said, oh, well, that's interesting, but what about alt text? And it was amazing. You could feed it an image and it would make a very good, for accessibility reasons, which sounds like a really great kind of bot that someone in the community could run, where you just go through Wikipedia, you find any image that doesn't have, it gives you a quick, very, very quick alt text, and you can look at it and go, yeah, actually, that's good. Save, 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 save. That's kind of stuff I think is really exciting and really useful. And then also, I'm interested sort of longer term in things like, AI. Here's 100 Wikipedia articles about World War II, or 1,000 or 10,000, however many there are. Find any contradictions. Find where we say one thing in one place and something else in another place. A few years ago, that would have been a dream. I think that's actually possible today with this technology, not in its current form, because you can't give it 100 live Wikipedia entries. It's not accessible in that way. So I think there's some really interesting things that are going to happen in the next few years. I don't think it's going to, blow us away or anything like that. I don't think it's going to destroy us with bad content. I think we're much better positioned than, for example, Reddit or really open message boards where people are allowed to just come and say whatever it is they think, because you can generate quite plausible kind of stuff that's maybe not real. Whereas, go to a talk page and post any ChatGPT content pretending to be a human, you're going to get busted pretty quickly, I think. So anyway, it's a fascinating topic. Anybody who wants to chat about it more, I'm on my talk page in English Wikipedia. Really interested in brainstorming with people, like what does all this mean?
Thanks, Jimmy. A lot of activity going on in chat here. So I think people are really looking forward to discussing this. And I'll pass to Yael to tell us about opportunities for that.
Yeah, I'm laughing out loud here at Owen's comment. So I'll keep that aside and just say that as part of our annual planning, I'm Yael Weisberg, Vice President of Partnerships, Programs, and Grant Making at the Foundation. For the second year in a row, as part of our annual planning process, we have asked folks at the organization to look outside and identify some external trends that we think are going to have an impact on how we work. Here is that list on Meta, and we're looking for input on that. And we will be hosting an open call for anyone. The new trend that we're exploring this year is specifically how machine learning and AI is impacting both how people search for content and the type of content that's available online. So you'll see an invite go out soon for a call on that. And it's really to solicit input and feedback on what have we missed, what else should we be looking at? There's no recommendations or approaches here yet. So I look forward to hopefully seeing many of you there.
Thanks so much. And on that note, we'll move to close the call. Thanks again, everybody, for joining. It was a really lively call today. Wonderful to see everybody. So the recording will be on the YouTube link, like we said, and on Commons very soon. The notes will be up very soon as well. If you enjoyed this call and you want to get the automatic Zoom link for this call in the future, you can email askcac@wikimedia.org and we'll get you on that list. And every time we have one of these calls, you'll get an email with the link directly. And you can email at any time with any thoughts as well. The inbox is being monitored all the time, not just during these calls. So please make use of that if that is of interest. Before you take off, though, I'm going to pass it off to Vicky to run the poll. If you have a couple minutes to respond to the poll, it really helps us know how you feel about each of our calls.
Yes, so this was conversation with trustees, and we would like all the trustees present and not present here would like to say thank you for your engagement, and we'll be running a quick poll where you can tell us anonymously, did it go well, didn't it go well? Please vote, and there were links in the chat to where you can ask us questions. I will repeat it again. And then, yes, please vote.
I'm also going to take a sneak just to say thank you for Victoria for hosting today's CAC meeting. We're going to rotate the hosting of this event to different CAC members in the coming year.
And then click the link that is in the chat in Slack. Not, I may be able to do it myself. You see? Great, we've already got people voting. See if I can share. It won't let me, I don't have this perfect, I'm sorry.
I might be able to do it.
I can see people are voting, which is great. We'd love to share what people said.
So much anticipation.
I know. Does anybody, maybe Emerald could share. Emerald,
Yeah.
you can share?
I'm setting up right now.
I can get you the direct for staying on and for your patience. This is actually a good tactic. I see more people are continuing to vote as we wait. So this is great. Thank you for participating.
But this is the first time it happened. Usually was,
I know, usually we're able to share it.
Always, you know.
Welcome.
Yay.
See, is there any updates?
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And yeah, we'll sign off and we'll see you in May is the next one, Vicky?
Yes, and it will be hosted by Rosie, who you've met today.
I look forward to seeing all of you in May.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your time, everyone.